Whiz through one or two that I think they're not really bad. First one's about a man who meets up with his old friend, and the friend notices his face is just got red marks across the whole thing, you know. And the guy wants to know, well, what happened to you? You know, he said, well, I was getting on an elevator the other morning, and a woman also boarded at the same time, and I couldn't help but notice that she had a very highly developed superstructure. So arthritis both hands. Okay, now you got it. Anyway, he said, and so I couldn't help myself. I was staring at her, kind of, especially kind of admiring, you know. And she then said, well, why don't you push one for me? And he said, I did.
I get it.
I also want to give you a little bit of information about why we don't have football teams made up of 11 women. You know why that is? Well, none of them want to be seen in the public with the same outfits as everybody else. This is a current events thing, and this is about the residents in Detroit who heard from the police that they had discovered a cache of 200 semi-automatic rifles with 2,500 rounds of ammunition, 200 pounds of heroin, $5 million in forged U.S. banknotes, and 25 trafficked Latino prostitutes, all in a semi-detached house behind the public library on Woodward Avenue. Local residents were stunned. Why? A community organizer said, we're all shocked. We never knew we had a library. A doctor in an insane asylum was a very feeling man, and he really cared about his charges. He had a heart of gold. He had a ward full of elderly men. They're all nutty, just like us. And he decided to take them all to a Boston Red Sox game. So for weeks in advance, he drilled them. We went over and over and over again about the fact that when he said something like do something, and then said nuts like that, that would be wonderful, because they know what they had to do. He said up nuts, and then stand up, and sit down nuts. That was that. So anyway, they finally got the day of the game, and the Red Sox were in great shape. And the first thing that happened was the anthem, national anthem was played, and he said, up nuts, and of course they stood up and they sang along. It was very, very good. When it was over with, he said, sit nuts, and they sat. Later, Boston had a home run, and he commanded up nuts, and cheer nuts. And perfect behavior. They all followed right through, and it was they applauded and they cheered. Then when the umpire made a bad call, he said, boo nuts, boo nuts. And they booed, and they catcalled. So seeing that everything was going great, he decided to slip out for a hot dog and a beer, leaving his assistant in charge. And when he returned, all hell was breaking out. He asked the assistant, what happened? And the assistant said, well, everything was going great. He said, it was just fine. But then this hawker came up the aisle yelling, peanuts!
I could see that coming.
You know, I'm sure many of you are receiving season's greeting cards, or Christmas cards, or whatever. And invariably, a number of them contain a newsletter about the family. You know, obviously the kid has just become a Rhodes Scholar, and the husband's, you know, been made vice president of a big company, or whatever it happened to be, you know. And frankly, you get a little tired of that, but I did get one that was a little different. And in this Christmas card it says, dear friends and relatives, I'm afraid it's time, that time of the year again. So here's what you missed by not calling or writing. I've started a new job at the cemetery, which I find very pleasant and restful. Elita, which is his wife, is busy training little Xenon, age 2, to forage in the woods for grubs and edible fungus, so that he can fend for himself once I have to return to work at the lumber yard in January. Nicolina, age 7, continues to pursue her interest in exotic entomology, and her collection of dangerous insects has now overflowed from the pantry into the kitchen. Septimus, age 10, son, is busy with his many hobbies, although Elita and I finally drew the line at Satanism, which we felt he was consuming rather too much of his time, as well as depleting our goat herd. In August, we took a trip somewhere or other, and all I remember is that the food was better there. Naturally, all our lawsuits with the neighbors continue unabated, to the delight of our many lawyers, whom Nicolina's, our little daughter, has given new names, and she wishes to collect them in specimen jars. Well, happy holidays. This is Festus, Fathering Hay and Family. Amen. Finally, I have a wish for you all. I hope that you'll have a Christmas that you will never forget, and a New Year's Eve that you'll never remember.